Luke chapter 19, verse 12 to verse 26. It says, a man of noble birth went to a distant country to have himself appointed king and then to return. So he called 10 of his servants and gave them 10 minas. Put this money to work, he said, until I come back. But his subjects hated him and sent a delegation after him to say, we don't want this man to be our king. He was made king, however, and returned home. Then he sent for his servants to whom he had given the money, in order to find out what they had gained with it. The first one came and said, Sir, your mina has earned 10 more. Well done, my good servant, his master replied. Because you have been trustworthy in a very small matter, take charge of 10 cities. The second came and said, Sir, your mina has earned 5 more. His master answered, you take charge of 5 cities. Attitude intended. Okay, I didn't know if you've noticed that before, that he didn't get a well done. He didn't get a well done. No matter the translation of the Bible you want to read it from, there is no well done for the guy that turned 1 to 5. It says, you take charge of 5 cities. And then another came, verse 20 now. Then another servant came and said, Sir, here is your mina. I have kept it laid away in a piece of cloth. I was afraid of you because you are a hard man. You take out what you did not put in and reap what you did not sow. His master replied, I will judge you by your own words. You wicked servant. You knew, did you, that I am a hard man, taking what I did not put in and reaping what I did not sow? Why then didn't you put my money on deposit so that when I came back, I could have collected it with interest? Then he said to those standing by, take his mina away from him and give it to the one who has 10 minas. Sir, they said, he already has 10. He replied, I tell you that to everyone who has, more will be given. But for the one who has nothing, even what he has will be taken away. It was a quiet morning. I observed what we call a quiet time. I had finished praying, and this was the portion of scripture that I read. Then I started asking questions. I said, why didn't that second guy, that guy that turned 1 to 5, why didn't he get a well done? After all, he tried. Okay? Some football lovers are here, and you know the way it feels when your team plays Man City and gets a draw. Okay? I know some people have forgotten the feeling now. It's okay. It's okay. But some people, I don't want to mention the names of the club, they were jubilating. And I felt like, it's a draw. But they were jubilating. And this is what I'm trying to say. As far as humans are concerned, 5/10 is good. B for effort. Right? Why didn't he get a well done? Then you see, that 5 mina guy, when the master said, take it away from that guy who did nothing, why didn't he say, share it between these two people? The guy that got 5. See, as far as I'm concerned, the person that pains me the most, the person I feel for the most, is the guy that turned 1 to 5. He didn't get a well done. He didn't get an extra mina. Why? Then the master said, take his mina away from him. That's the guy that did nothing. He said, and give it to the guy that has 10. And I said, why? You said to him that has nothing, even what he has. I said, wait, stay on one side. What does it mean to have? Because you have told me now that I don't have, but I have. What does it mean? And those were the thoughts, that occupied my mind that day. The more I thought about it, the more discoveries I made. The first set of discoveries I made, they became the introduction to the book, The Checklist. Over time, they've developed, now I call them the 5 big ideas. No matter how many times you have heard them, every time you hear them, they do something to you, including me. That's the truth. And that's why I start from there every time, okay? I call them the 5 big ideas. These are 5 principles that I learned from Luke chapter 19. The implication of Luke chapter 19. This is the first one. Success begins with responsibility. Success begins with responsibility. What do I mean? What you have right now is not all you could possess. It is rather what you produced with what you received. Okay? Success begins with responsibility. If I ask you, how much is your bank balance? Whatever that amount is, that's not the amount God gave you. That is what you produced with what you receive. Okay? Where you are right now is not because of where you started from. It is what you did along the way that determined where you are right now. So the first principle is what? Success begins with responsibility. Let me say this up front. If you have not read the book, attending the seminar does not absolve you of the need to read the book. Okay, because what happened to me after I wrote the book was I continued to learn principles that have to do with the checklist that I did not write in the book. But I think in 2024, I'm going to expand the book, okay, just like I've done with What You Choose is What You Get, because there's just a lot, okay, that I've learned about these principles since I wrote the book. So what I do at the seminar is to share those ideas that didn't make it to the book. Okay, and those are some of the things I'm going to be sharing with you this morning. So the first is success begins with responsibility. The second one is this: good intentions are not good enough. Good intentions are not good enough. You must produce results. Why? Because in life, more is reserved for those who make the most of what is in their hands. In life, you may be acknowledged for effort. You will only be rewarded for results. Okay? The mistake we make is a lot of times we evaluate ourselves based on intentions, then we evaluate other people based on results. Do you understand? That's the reason why a politician in this country said any government that cannot solve power problem in 6 months is incompetent. And after 8 years, he couldn't do anything about it. See, I just used them as an example. It is all of us. We judge other people by performance, but we judge ourselves by what? By intentions. Looking from the outside, it felt like, what is there? And this person I'm talking about was a governor, and as a governor, he did very well. As a matter of fact, his principal did not want him, okay, to continue. But the president wanted him because of his track record. This person I'm talking about, if he decides to become the governor of this state again, many of us will vote for him because he was a good guy. But when he got to the center, Abuja demons dealt with him. See, but when he said that statement, any government that can't fix power in 6 months is incompetent, he was judging by results and looking at his own intentions. I don't want to steal money. I just want to work hard. I just want to do this. I just want to do that. And when he got there, he found out that good intentions are not good enough. So you see, that statement is a double-edged sword. When we say good intentions are not good enough, you need to understand you cannot just proceed with your good intentions. Just like we heard in the last session, you have to have a plan. And then you've got to wake up every day and make sure that everything you are doing is directly connected to your plan. Not to your wish, your plan. So good intentions are not good enough. Principle number 3, if you don't use it, you will lose it. If you don't use it, you will lose it. What you currently possess is not an accurate measurement of your value. If you don't use it, you will lose it. So I say it jokingly. There are people who came this morning, if you ask them, what's your marital status? They say, I'm married. But it's not true. They are divorced. They just don't know yet. You ask some people, what do you do for a living? Says, I run a business. But it is not true. The person does not just know that 31st of January 2024, the business is going to shut down. So what you currently hold in your hand is not a true measurement of your value. If you don't make the most of it, you are going to lose it. You're going to lose it. Okay? As we continue, you would see these principles come back over and over again. Principle number 4. Now, this one is very important. You can always do better. No matter how tough you think your year has been, no matter how much you have succeeded. I like a verse of scripture. Most of the time, we use it when things are negative, when things are bad. But you need to understand that that portion of scripture applies to every situation. It says that what? To him that is joined to the living, there is hope. No matter what you have achieved, listen, as long as you are still taking in oxygen and passing out carbon dioxide, you have the potential for more. Okay? You can always do better. Don't ascribe the outstanding results of other people solely to their talent. Someone somewhere with the same opportunities and challenges as you is producing better results. If you look into the 4 Gospels, you will notice there's this Luke 19 account, and then there's a similar story in Matthew chapter 25. We call that the parable of talents. They are very similar. But the difference in the 2 parables is that in the Matthew 25 account, there were 3 servants, telling you that when you look at the Luke account, we're not looking at 3 servants, we are looking at 3 types of people. Because the Bible records that the man called 10 servants. But when we saw results, we only took 3. Because you see, the 3 were a sample representation of all the 10. Do you understand now? Now, these are descriptions I never used in the book. So in real life, we have successful people, we have mediocre people, and then we have people who play safe. Not failures. I mean, you don't fail if you don't try. So they didn't fail, they just played safe. So we have successful people, we have mediocre people, and we have people who play safe. Not failures. You can't call a man a failure until he's dead. You can't call a man a failure until you know what he could achieve. And you are the only one that knows your true potential. It's between you and God. So nobody can call you a failure. They don't know what you can do and what you cannot do. But you know. That's why there are people, everybody's applauding you, but you're not feeling good about it. You know the reason why? Because what you have produced compared to what you could produce, all right, is small. Everybody looks at what you have done. I'm like, man, there's no one but you. But when you look inside you, you know there's more. So you're not fulfilled. Okay? You can always do better. But if you look at those parables we talked about, in the parable of the minas, there were 10 guys serving the same master. They invested in the same economy. So this guy that did not get a well done, why was the master not excited at him? You turned 1 to 5 under the same circumstances where another person turned 1 to 10, and you expect to be celebrated. No, you could have done better. That's it. You could have done better. So if there's any statement, I want you to write down. If it's not your mantra yet, as you go into the new year, tell yourself the truth. I can always do better. No matter what I've done, I can always do better. Okay? I can always do better. To him that is joined to the living, there is hope. And then principle number 5, this is crucial. Talent is never enough. The guy that turned 1 to 10 received the same investment as the guy that turned 1 to 0 or 1 to 1, the guy that played safe. So when you see successful people, it is not just because they are gifted. All of us are gifted. Do you understand now? All of us are gifted. So if you're going to be successful, it's not just because of talent, it is because of how much work you do with your talent. Now, this is what we have discovered about life. That there are some people who have very little talent, but have a strong work ethic. Sometimes they produce greater results than those who are very gifted, but when it comes to their work ethic, they are very poor. Talent is not enough. That's the truth. Talent is never enough. Talent is never enough. Okay? If you look into the world of sports, you will see what I'm saying. How that you see some guys very gifted, very talented, then when they hit their 40s and their 50s, okay, life happens to them, they fall ill, and then they come on social media and the public space to ask Nigerians for money, and then they try to guilt trip us. This guy represented you. When he was young, he played for the country. And what everybody is not talking about is, but he was paid. Yes. And because he represented the country, he got the presidential handshake. And some of them got plots of land. And then because of that, an international organization saw him and hired him. A lot of those our players went to Europe, and played in Europe, and they made money while they were there. But they forgot that talent is not enough. How many of you can remember names like Peter Rufai? You remember Peter Rufai? Where is he today? He has not come to beg anybody for money. You know the reason why? Because before he stopped playing football, he realized talent is never enough. Listen to me, no matter how gifted you are right now, you will not always be this gifted. Do you understand? Let me tell you what happens. You will just get to a certain age, heaven will stop updating your software. How many of you will believe I used to sing? Can you believe? Let me tell you the truth. This morning, you see, this idea of playing music when we praise and worship and pray to God, one of the reasons why I like it is because I'm not liking my own voice anymore. So this morning I was playing and I was praying, and the singer hit a pitch and I followed him. I couldn't get to C. I was to meet him at C, but I couldn't get there. I looked left and right. Thank God I'm by myself. My software is not updated. You don't understand what I'm saying. When I was 17, when I was 8, no, when I was 10, I used to so sing. I used to be on TV. I know some of you will not believe it. LTV, that is. But LTV was a big deal in those days. Yeah, I used to be. How many of you remember Jimmy Sholanke? Yeah, I featured with Jimmy Sholanke on NTA when I was a kid. By the time I was 24, listen, I can wake up and decide when I want to lead praise and worship in our church. I mean, there was one December like that. I was closing from school and I told my friends, I said, I'm going home today. When I get home, Christmas service, Sunday morning, I'm the one that will lead praise and worship. You know the reason why? The moment I show up, hey, I was Samuel Poso, Ibadan branch. I used to be. But somewhere along the line, my software, was not upgraded. So it's not just about talent. It's about what you do with the talent. So what did I do with talent? I brokered relationships with talent. I got a wife. Music got me my wife. Thank God I don't need to sing to get a wife now. I used to lead a music team, and I used to be a strict music director. And, there was just a lot of order with my team. And in 1 year, I grew my team from 21 singers to 60 singers. And it was at that 60 singer level I got the babe. Talent is not enough. It's what you do with talent. You need to broker relationships. You need to learn when to pivot. You need to know the difference between your main gift and your auxiliary gifts. Now, I don't sing anymore, but sometimes, was it last week? Okay, our worship team was rehearsing on the corridor there, and they had some issues. And I went there, and they were surprised at my knowledge. I may not have the talent, but I still have the skill. So I can transition from the player to a coach. Some of our sports guys, because I didn't come to just call them out. What's the problem? People don't understand that there's talent and then there's business. So some people are gifted, but they don't understand if you don't master business, one day your gift will run out on you. Do you understand? And there are some people, I just want to leave paid employment. I don't want to serve anybody. You don't get it. If you don't master business before you leave paid employment, your suffering is doing push-up. Because people are not going to patronize you because they like your face. Let me tell you this. There's nothing as pitiful as going to the same church with somebody and you don't patronize the person. But people don't joke with their money if you don't understand business. So talent is not enough. It's about what you do with your talent. How far you go in life, okay, is not determined by what is in your hand, but what you do with what is in your hand. So I want you to look at the person sitting beside you and ask that person a question for me. What are you doing? Look at this picture. For those alumni people, you know it. For those who are seeing it for the first time, just look at it, especially if you've not seen it online before. That's a bank cashier with customers in front of her. From the front, when you look at her, you say, this person is swamped. This lady is working hard. But look at the screen. She's playing solitaire at work. And there are so many people, that is exactly what we are doing with life. We have desires, we have wishes, and like a country like ours, we're very religious, we pray a lot. Then we leave the place of prayer and we start playing instead of working. So that day I sat down and I said to myself, I want to be the 10-minute guy. I want to be that guy that anything I set my heart to do, I just don't turn 1 to 5, I want to turn 1 to 10. What are the factors that must be in place to make sure that anything I do, I'm turning 1 to 10 and not 1 to 5? Okay? That is what gave birth to the concept of the checklist. But for those who are hearing about it for the very first time, let me give you the background story. So the year we got married, my wife started working for an airline. They should have been doing this. I'm not the blind challenge that time. Because I would have been able to say, I am not the air hostess, I am a driver. And because I took her to work every day, sometimes when I think about it now, I don't know what I was smoking. And because we lived in Bagada, I should have just told her, take the car. Because I will sit in traffic and drop out work, and then I will go through traffic to get back home, and then I will go through traffic again to go and pick her. And because I don't want her stressed, I will have to get there sometimes 40 minutes, sometimes 1 hour. But you know the kind of person I am. I make the most of time. I have books I will read. I have things I will listen to. But I will wait for her. And there are times, what they did to you passengers, they did to us drivers too. Because there are times when I've waited for like 2 hours, when they give me the information, their flight is delayed, they are not coming back tonight. And we did that for 10 years. 10 years. So in that period, I heard a lot about aviation. I got so fascinated by the aircraft, by the airplane and flying and all of those things, that till today, the number one item on my bucket list is to fly an airplane by myself. My wife has not promised to go with me, but before I die, I'm going to take off by myself. I'm going to land by myself. I do it all the time in my dreams now, but I'm going to do it. So I learned a lot about, airplanes. And one thing they talk about is a checklist. Okay, you would think that they just come, you have good morning, you're welcome. It's amazing everything they do. See, the air hostess, yes, but especially the pilots. For every flight, there is a checklist they must fill. The pilot will do it, the co-pilot, the pilot will be doing what he's supposed to do, the co-pilot will be ticking one after the other, and they do it in every flight. So there are so many people I know who have heard about the checklist, who have been part of the checklist seminar. The only problem is they are not applying the checklist the way it's supposed to be applied. Patrick Smith was a pilot for over 30 years. Look at what he said about checklist discipline. He said, checklist discipline is important. You always reach for the card, even if you are 99.99% certain that everything is safe and complete. In the airline environment, this discipline is taken for granted. In my entire major airline career, I have never once seen a checklist intentionally skipped. You get it? For some of us, if praying every day was a checklist, you have gone to hell already. Did you get that now? So, it is not so much about the principles, it's about how we apply the principles. I researched, and because I'm not a very, very deep student, I like fives, I said to myself, what are those 5 things that must be present in anything I do to make sure that I succeed? From 2016 till date, I have practiced these principles. Anything I want to do, I practice this concept of the checklist. So what are those 5 things? 5 essential elements of achievement. The first one is clarity of purpose. The second one is quality of thought. Pay attention to the words in yellow. The third one is a detailed plan of action. The fourth one is focused execution. And the fifth is the investment of time. Okay? When it comes to clarity, for example, after I wrote the book, I learned more about clarity. That's why the presentation you will receive today about clarity is beyond what's in the book. Okay, I'm working on another book that will come out in 2024, and then I threw more light on clarity in that book. Okay, it's titled Moving Forward. I've been working on the book now for like 2 years. Moving Forward. It's coming out in 2024. Today we are going to talk about clarity. We're going to talk about quality of thought. For those who have not read the book, and even if you have read the book, you will still need to go back, okay, to cover the other things by yourself. For those who don't have the book, during the break, you will see a QR code on the screen. Once you click on that QR code, you would have a link where you can get the book. And of course, today we are also releasing the new edition of What You Choose is What You Get. All right. It's available already. Those who have scanned this can access it already, okay? So there's no unveiling ceremony. We just chose the date for that. So you can also get What You Choose is What You Get and some other materials from that online store. Okay, so today we're going to look at clarity of thought, and then we're going to look at, clarity of purpose. We're going to look at quality of thought, okay? And then we'll trust you to go and cover the rest, okay, by yourself. Clarity of purpose. What does it mean to have clarity? It's to understand the concept of why. Like Simon Sinek said, you start with why. And what we're saying here is that purpose will give you clarity. The moment you know why you exist, you will know what you have to do. The moment you know why you are doing anything, you know what you have to do. So before you start doing anything, you want to gain clarity by purpose. But I'm not talking about that. Somebody is coming to talk about that in a moment. The session I'm going to do after now, I'm going to talk about quality of thought. Is that okay? And then we're going to push it further. I'm going to be sharing content, it's not in the book, okay, on how to generate exceptional ideas. The next one is a detailed plan of action. A detailed plan of action. Alan Lakin said planning is bringing the future into the present so that you can do something about it now. Planning denies the future of unpleasant surprises and minimizes the impact of eventualities. Planning prepare your reflexes. Listen, even if your plans do not come to pass, this is what we have discovered, that people who plan tend to recognize and respond to opportunities better. Okay? People who plan, they tend to recognize and respond to opportunities better. People who plan tend to respond better to adversity. So even if your plan does not come to pass, the discipline of planning will develop what? Your reflexes. I tell people this all the time. If somebody calls me right now and offers me 20 million naira cash, I'm giving you 72 hours. The money is spent. Not wasted though. Do you understand? Because I have a plan. Is how much do you have? I have a plan for everything. Okay? The law of time perspective, when we get to investment of time, okay, the law of time perspective says the most successful people in a society are the ones who take the longest period of time into consideration when they are making their everyday decisions. So they plant trees that they will never sit under. Do you understand? When you spend 20 naira today, you've gotten 20 naira value. The reason why they don't spend at times is, if I hold on to this 20 naira and I can add another 20 naira, by 2 years' time, I can do this, then they hold back. Do you understand? Because they are seeing beyond the next 2 years, beyond the next 5 years. Okay? When you deploy the law of time perspective, I'm running ahead of myself right now, the derivative of that is discipline. Discipline. Okay, it's not like Joseph did not want pleasure. But look, this momentary pleasure will cost me. He could see the future. So he behaved himself because of the future. But some people can't see beyond their nose. So every decision they make is based on what's in front of them. But there's something about planning. See how long you can plan for. And people of faith, don't say, oh, I'm a person of faith, I don't plan. The God that you believe in has a plan for the end of the world documented in the Bible you read. It says, I know the end from the beginning. God does not start what he has not finished. As a matter of fact, somebody said it this way, said God will go from the beginning to the end. After he has finished the end, then he will now go back to the beginning to start. Do you understand? So you to do the same thing. Every step you take it with an end in mind. Take it with an end in mind. You may not be able to do 5 years. Start with 1 year. Write down the date, 31st of December, 2024. What will my life look like? Okay? Right. Not. You see, you can't control outcomes, but at least what I want it to look like. Plan your own funeral and attend. Because that's the best way to attend your funeral. You can control. When you die, you can't control anybody. The best way to, you see, instead of writing a will, distribute your properties while you're alive. That's the best way to show people. Because they can change your will after you die, or they can fulfill your will for 3 months and then change it. You can tell somebody, I trust you very well, take care of my estate and take care of my children when they become 21. And they don't allow the child to reach 21. The only problem is your will did not cover what happens when your child dies. Are we getting it now? So they just take care of the child for 2 years and poison the child in the 3rd year in a very mysterious way. They will now take your money and sponsor your child's funeral with gratitude to God for a life well spent. Hey, yeah, and his father just died. But they saw the end from the beginning. Do you understand now? They saw the end from the beginning. So a lot of people of faith feel if I'm living by faith, I don't need to have a plan. No. Planning is an expression of faith. Because I believe God has done it, what am I going to do with what God has done? That's my plan. So you plan. Okay? You plan. If it is not documented, it's not a plan. Mike Murdoch said what? That the shortest pencil is better than the longest memory. So don't say you have a plan until you document it. Lee Iacocca said that the first thing you do to make a desire come to pass is that you go home, sit down, and write it down. The first step to turning any dream to reality is sit down, write it down. Documenting your vision, your desire. Then focused execution is, nothing is going to happen until I start acting on my desire. Because you see, some people, when they write their plans, it feels very good. I don't know about you. Ideas have the same effect like cocaine. If you really know how to think, if you're a creative person, just dreaming, I'm telling you, just dreaming, just sit in one corner and just imagine yourself, how they will just come and knock on your door and they will say that America's president says that you are the best thing that happened to them after sliced bread. So they are going to bring your visa to you at home. Okay, then they will now give you all expense paid, okay, trip to America because the president wants to see you. So you will fly in Air Force One. Can you picture it now? From Lagos, okay, to Washington, and then when you arrive, there is a motorcade that will come and receive you. As the motorcade is coming, you'll be hearing pam 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 pam. Then they will put you in the limousine of the president, and they will take you straight to the White House. And the president will shake your hand, say, "Thank you for coming." What's your name again? He will call your first name and your second name with your surname. How many people can picture it? And then they will show you around the White House, the East Wing, the West Wing. Okay, and as you're going, cameramen are taking pictures, they're snapping, and then they will now usher you into the Oval Office. And then you will sit down, not at the table, at that 3-seater where they discuss very important matters. And that's where you're going to sit. Then the president will say, "Let us pray." I stopped there because the average person, all they are going to do about it is what? Is let us pray. That's why I said, let me stop it there and let us pray. How do you feel? It feels good to dream. Dreaming is sweet. Listen, if you don't have money right now, let me teach you how to escape. Don't smoke, just be dreaming. There's just something about dreaming. Dreaming will make you escape the moment. I'm telling you. And unlike alcohol, no side effects. You don't even need to buy it. It's free. And it is when you want to stop that you stop. But the reality is, the first step to making your dream come to pass is what? No, wake up. The first thing you have to do is what? Wake up. Wake up. What do you say to yourself? We are in Lagos. I'm in Nigeria. America's president does not know me. No visa is coming to me. I'm not flying to Washington, D.C., but that's in my future. What must I do today to get there? Until you start doing something about your desire, nothing is going to happen. Don't sit down somewhere thinking some people are running over themselves, trying to scamper to make your dream come to pass. No, most people are going to respond to you. Do you understand? Most people are going to respond to you. So what are you going to do? That's what makes your plan. But planning is not enough. You now have to make sure that you focus on executing your plan. Because another thing that happens to a lot of us in the course of the year is there are some very good things that come up, but it's not in the plan. So some people listening to me right now, it's the end of 2023. It's been a fantastic year, but your plan did not come to pass. Yeah, I know you should be grateful for the things that you did not plan for, but guess what? Those things were supposed to happen along with your plan. Did you catch that? Because sometimes, and you need to understand, I'm a pastor, okay? I'm grateful to God for the things He did that I did not plan for. But you need to understand that the original plan was for those things to happen along with the things I planned for. So I can be grateful on one side, but you need to understand God is still not as happy with me because I have not developed capacity to actualize desires. And that is what we must work on. Do you understand? Now look, if I say I'm going to do something, I do it. I keep my promise to myself. That's focused execution. The heart of focused execution is discipline. That's not a very popular word. Discipline. What's discipline? Doing what you have to do when you have to do it, regardless of the way you feel. Discipline. Doing what you have to do when you have to do it, regardless of the way you feel. You need to understand that your emotions are like the soundtrack to a movie. Okay? We can shut the sound and read subtitles and understand the movie. You don't make decisions based on emotions. You judge what is going on around you based on emotions. Did you get that now? Okay, emotions they are signs to just tell us what's going on. So when I'm excited, it means something good has happened. When I am not happy, it means something bad has happened. It does not mean that the emotion should control me. Do you understand what I'm saying now? I'm driving home. I'm alone in the car. It's 8 p.m. And some guys in uniform say, park, park, park. Am I going to park? It depends. It's not just about how I feel. Somebody said, when they told me, I saw a lady say, when they told me to park, I just they are police officers, so I felt safe. No, you don't go by feelings. You read the environment. There are certain things you will read that will let you know this is not a safe place. So instead of parking, you accelerate. Do you understand now? See, there are times when somebody has offended you. The person has said something bad about you. Before you react, you ask yourself, who is this person to me? I have some people in my life, it's not like they are not human, but I've decided there's nothing they can do to offend me. Because the value they bring to the table is more important than my emotions. Do you understand what I'm saying now? There are some people, if they call me, I have to pick their calls. Because of who they are, I may be tired. One of them called me yesterday, it was around 10. The moment I saw the call, I said, this is not the kind of call I ignore. I have to talk to this person. I don't do it for everybody. So I was tired. I was feeling sleepy, but I picked the call. Okay, quite a number of people that know me know Pastor Mike. A couple of days ago, we're chatting on the phone, and I was about to type, because the time difference is crazy. It's in Idaho. And I was about to type, is there a good time for us to talk? Then my phone started ringing. And it's Pastor Mike. That's the first time we're going to be talking on the phone in like 2 years. It does not matter how I feel. I'm using all of that as, example. Sometimes you wake up and, this morning when I woke up, I did not feel like praying. So that you understand how successful people succeed. I didn't feel like praying. See, but I've gotten to a point in my life right now where I tell my body, you don't get to vote. Do you understand? It's listening to you that brought me here. I'm not listening to you anymore. So you know what I do? I will start playing the music. I will start praying. Even God knows. That's those like 4, 5 minutes, 10 minutes is outer court experience. Clean my shoe. Arrange the books. What am I trying to do? I am trying to trick my flesh into what? We are going to pray this morning. There's nothing you are going to do about it. We are going to pray this morning. That's discipline. Every time without fail, by the 15th minute, the 20th minute, the body adjusts. It's the same thing with fasting. It's the same thing with saving. It's the same thing with reading a book. How many people have this experience? When you want to read a book, 5 minutes or 10 minutes into reading the book, you feel sleepy. Anybody like that? And that thing used to make me feel bad. I used to think I was a useless person. I was an unserious person. And how can you be feeling sleepy when you want to read a book? See, my own is very terrible that if I drop the book and I start playing a movie, my eyes will be wide, open. And then I pick the book again, the sleep will come back again. So you know what I do? First, you have to stop feeling guilty. That's a starting point. Then I tell my body, is sleep, Abi? We will sleep. I will put the book aside. I will sleep. I will wake up, and then we'll continue reading. Maybe it's sleep, you want to sleep. We will sleep. Do you understand? So instead of giving yourself excuses, trick your body into doing what you will have it do. So one of the principles I mastered over time is the Kaizen principle. And the reason why a lot of us don't do a lot is because you want to do massive things. No. Okay, so recently I taught my daughter, my daughter. Sometimes I confuse. The only legal way to be in love with two ladies and not commit a sin or a crime is to marry one and father the other. So recently I was teaching my daughter to pray and to use, a prayer list. And I did not teach her or demand of her what I would demand of myself. All I said, make a list. And when she brought the list to me, honestly speaking, I felt like being a child again. Because I was like, God, I can give anything for this to be my prayer points. There were some crochet knots she wanted to master. It's made the prayer list. Like, Lord, crochet, prayer list. But guess what? It's a starting point. It's a starting point. So don't tell yourself, I have to lose 20 kg this year. No, don't lose 20 kg. Just lose like 0.5. Yes. That's the concept of Kaizen. Little by little. Little by little. Little by little. So my wife's talking about some of us fell off the wagon because of the year. You had your diet, your weight goals, and all of that. I said, I did not fall off the wagon. I drove the wagon into the bush. I drove the wagon into the bush, because if you fall off the wagon, it's somebody else's fault. Maybe the driver did. No, I drove the wagon. But you know what I have done to myself? For the last 1 week now, I have taken a walk at least 30 minutes every day. That's the truth. Yeah, I was going to fit into this. Every day, the moment we finish praying, at 6 a.m., I'm listening to a podcast, and I will go around. The first day, the kind of pain that held me here, and it was about some 15 minutes to my house. So you see, there's no bike. The only way this pain will go away is for me to sit down. I cannot sit down until I didn't care who was looking at me. I just took a comfortable position. The way I was walking, I will get home. When I got to, my son did not understand. Daddy, good morning. He just wait first. I sat down. Guess what? I woke up the following day. The first thing I remember was the pain. I got on the road. I felt no pain. Just 30 minutes. By the third day, one guy passed me. He was jogging. They go. They go. That's it. Just start. Gradually. I drove the wagon into the bush. I got a towing vehicle. We have pulled the wagon back to the road. We are fixing the tires. By 1st of January, we'll be back on the wagon. Just do something, okay? As focused execution. You'll get the rest in the book, okay? Because of time, let's move on now. Then the investment of time, I'm not even going to belabor the issue. The investment of time simply says, anything worth building requires time. The only thing you can achieve in a hurry is a crime or a sin. Everything worth building will take time. So the concept of the investment of time says, use time as a tool for achievement. And in that chapter, so many principles I talked about there. I will mention probably just 2 of them. I've talked about the law of time perspective. The most successful people in a society take the longest period of time into consideration when making their day-to-day decisions. There is what is called Parkinson's law, that says that activities and tasks will fill up the time allocated to it. So if you want to do something and you say, I will do it in 2 weeks, it's amazing how that it will take you 2 weeks to do it. If you give yourself 1 week to do the same thing, you will do it in 1 week. It's Parkinson's law. The moment you allocate time to something, it fills up that time. So you want to use the power of deadlines to motivate yourself to produce results. So when you want to do something, you just don't say, I'm going to do this. You say, I'm going to do this by this time. So for example, myself and our management team, we have spent hours working on our calendar for 2024. And sometimes the process of working on the calendar was so painful, was so arduous. But we said, look, let's fix the dates first. That's why I tell you that these principles are not just for knowing, they are for practicing. So you look at you should have your 2024 calendar and fix specific dates. I am writing a book. Don't just say, I want to write a book. When is it going to be published? Plan the unveiling of your book, even before you write chapter 1. Once you have that end, and start talking about it. Start talking about it. Start talking about it. Start talking about it. Because it's going to come to pass. You have to take your thoughts seriously. Because thoughts are things. I'm writing a book and it's going to be unveiled on the 25th of March, 2024. Put the date there. Start talking about it. Then come back to the beginning, just like God, and walk your way to the end. All right, the timer says my time is up. So let's move to the next subject.